Hello and welcome. Let's look at the IELTS speaking section. My name is Augustine Mecca. So the speaking test is actually a face-to-face interview with an examiner. So you're going to be sitting in front of an examiner. You're going to be talking, and it's going to last for 11 to 14 minutes. And there are actually three parts to this. And the first part one, is going to be easier than part two, and part three is going to be most difficult. So it's going to progressively be more challenging. Now let's look at part one. So part one is a form of an introduction, and the examiner is going to introduce him or herself. So this part is going to last between 4 and 5 minutes. So the examiner introduces him or herself. He asks you to state your name and show your identification. You'll be asked general questions about yourself, such as where you live or what you are currently doing, whether you're working or studying. So it's always personal questions like about your favorite music, uh, cooking, the weather, or movies you like. He will ask and just listen. So once he asks you, he will expect you to be talking to him so that you can notice how well you can communicate. So he will ask and just listen, though he may prompt you to extend your response by saying why or why not. If your answer is too short, he will want you to extend. So you might say something like why did you say this, so that you can extend your answer. Now, what are the tips and strategies that you can use to effectively tackle part one so that you can get a very good band for the speaking? Number one, use different verbs, tenses, and forms to answer questions. So you have to know you don't have to keep making similar statements. So you have to use different verbs, choice of words, very, very important, tenses and forms to answer questions. Example, if you're asked, did you like the same movies when you were a child? You could say, when I was a child, I liked cartoons more because. So you have to talk longer. Don't just use one simple statement and just say something. So give reasons why you liked cartoons when you were a child. Okay, don't give one or two words answer. Don't give one or two words answer. Give at least one or two sentences. So your answer should be in sentences, not in words. So make sure you make longer sentences that are making sense. Now review the vocabulary about work, school, your home, hobbies, the weather, etc. to prepare for this section. So if you want to tackle this part one effectively, you have to have large stock of vocabularies to use so that you can always change your verbs, your tenses, and make a whole lot of sense. Okay. So let's look at part two. So like we said, part one is about introduction. So this is part one. It's about introduction and questions on familiar topics. So that is what part one. You talk about your name and your favorite music, cooking, weather, and the rest. That's what you do in chapter one, in part one, and it lasts for 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, so let's look at part two. So part two is what we call the individual long term, and it lasts for 3 to 4 minutes. So here the examiner gives you a topic. You are asked to talk about it for 1 or 2 minutes. So it's not as if he's asking you about introduction, your name also. So he actually gives you a topic, and you are asked to talk about this topic for 1 or 2 minutes. The topic will be handed to you on a card. You will be given a piece of paper and pencil for notes. You will see the speaking prompt and some points you can cover in your talk on the card. So on the card that you're going to be handed to, you're going to see in bullet form the points that you're supposed to cover while you're talking the 1 to 2 minute stuff. You will have exactly 1 minute to prepare and make notes before you speak. So you see that this part 2 takes 3 to 4 minutes. That means the first 1 minute will be for you to just prepare. Once you look at the question, you prepare, take notes on what you want to talk about, so that once you start talking, it will just make sense. Then the rest of the 2 minutes will be for the actual talking. So let's look at a sample of part 2. They could say something like, describe a beautiful place to visit in your city. So that is the question. That's the topic now that the examiner has given you. Now, you should now say this. What I'm just saying now will be on the card. These bullets will be on the card. The points that you're supposed to make sure that they're on what you're saying. So you should say where it is, how to get there, what there is to do when you get to that place, and explain why you recommend this place. Now, you have 2 minutes to respond after the 1 minute preparation. Like I said before, use the first 1 minute to prepare, then you use the 2 minutes to respond. Now, you may get follow-up questions when you are done. So, like we said, this can last for 4 minutes. So, the other one remaining minutes might be for follow-up questions. So, take note. So, what are the tips and strategies that you can use to tackle these part 2 effectively? What are the tips and strategies for tackling part 2 effectively? Number 1, take notes. Like we said, you're going to be handed your card. Make sure you take notes so that you can flow when you start talking. So take notes to know what points to take on and develop. Number 2, you should structure your talk. Let your talk have like a simple beginning, the middle, and a summarizing end. Simple beginning, middle, and end. You can use keywords from the prompt to form an introductory statement. So when you look at the prompt, you can now use the keyword from it to form your introductory statement. Example, you're talking about the question is about beautiful place that is in your area. So the keywords there could be beautiful place, visit, and city. So you could say something like this as a form of answer. I would like to talk to you today about an area of my city that everyone should go see because its beauty is outstanding. So that's how you introduce simple beginning. So after that, then you use the 3 bullet points that are on your card to organize the middle of your talk and conclude by explaining why this is the place you must recommend. So you can see, very simple. Now, extend each part of your answer with some details. So you can always give examples to buttress your point. Use expressions, grammatical structures, and vocabulary. This will give you more mark. Use the full 2 minutes. So make sure you exhaust your full 2 minutes talking. Practice talking in front of a mirror on a subject for 2 minutes to get the sense of the timing. So how do you time? How do you know that your 2 minutes, that you're using your 2 minutes? So the best way would be for you to stand in front of the mirror in your house and try to demonstrate this. So time yourself so that you get a sense of when 2 minutes is up when you start this part 2 section of the speaking. Now let's look at the part 3, which is two-way discussion. This part lasts for between 4 and 5 minutes. So here, questions here are loosely connected to the topic that you spoke about in part 2. You know, you spoke about beautiful places in your area. That's what you spoke about in part 2. So that normally forms where you could have your part 3 topic coming from. So the questions here are loosely connected to the topic that you spoke about in part 2. And they become more complex and abstract as you go along. So it's a two-way discussion. So they're going to be asking you questions, and those questions can become more complex and abstract as you go along. You will need to be able to express and justify your opinions. Very, very important. analyze, discuss, and speculate on subjects. So those are the questions they will be asking you will be the kind of questions that will warrant you to express and justify your opinions. Analyze. They want to check your intelligence by asking you this, okay, so that you know whether you can easily communicate, talk on different things concerning these that are the very topic that you're on. If your long term, that is your part two, was about a beautiful place like we did here, it was about a beautiful place to visit in your city. This section might begin by talking about beautiful places, and the first question might be, do you think it's important to maintain beautiful places in cities? So this could be the first question for this two-way conversation, this two-way discussion. Now, the examiner will speak more with you in this section and may challenge your opinions to see how well you are able to convert about abstract ideas versus the personal topics contained in part one and two. So this part is going to be a little difficult because apart from making it personal, like asking you about the beautiful places you've been, you, the examiner might want you to discuss about beauty. What is the importance of making beautiful places, special places, and be kept well? So you guys are going to go into several other discussions that are connected to the topic, but not in personal terms, so that it can gauge your ability to express yourself effectively. So, what are the tips and strategies uh, for this part three? Number one, support and extend your answer. So, whenever you say something, you can give reasons why you think, or reasons for what you're saying, and examples to buttress your point. Now, state your opinions clearly and provide examples and reasoning to your talk. That's what I just said now. Believe in your opinion, maybe from what people say about a thing. Even if you're asked about something and you don't really know about, you've been hearing people talk about such topic, so you can get your own your direction of reasoning from that, and make sure that you put it in very clear words so that your examiner will understand. The more you say, the more you show how you can use English to communicate. So you have to keep talking. Don't just pause for a very long time. Keep talking, because when you talk, that's how you show you can communicate effectively in English. Avoid long pauses. Use you can use words like that's an excellent question. Like when you're thinking about the answer to give, maybe they ask you something that you don't really know about. So as you're thinking on what to say, you can say things like, that's an excellent question. You can say things like, where should I start? You can say things like, let me see. You can say things like, I need a couple of seconds to think about that. But so you can say all these kind of things as fillers or stalling phrases to give you time to formulate your answers. Now you can ask for clarification. If you don't understand the question, you can ask your examiner to clarify you so that you talk something meaningful. Don't just go and start talking even when you don't understand what you're being asked. So you can say things like, I'm sorry, can you please repeat that? Or if I understand you correctly, you want to know, or do you mean? So you can always say things like this so that the examiner will clarify himself so that you understand what he's he's expecting you to do. Now, you should also paraphrase or explain what you are trying to say instead of giving up if you forget a word in English. Like you want to talk about iron and you don't remember iron. So you can explain what iron is, and the examiner will understand that is what you're trying to say instead of just not talking. So if you have an idea that you want to pass across, but you don't know the right words to use to pass them across or to pass the idea across, you have to put it in. Just find a way of trying to express it. Because when you say you don't know how to express it, you will be penalized. But when you try, you will even be rewarded for trying. So say for the word iron, you can say something like the tool used to make the wrinkles, to take the wrinkles out of your clothing. It heats up and you press it on the material. Oh yes, it's called iron. You see? So when you say something like this, you'll be rewarded. But if you say you don't know how to say it, then you'll be penalized. So always try to find a way to express yourself. Okay, that's where we're going to be stopping. And in subsequent classes, we're going to do more examples on this. Please, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, share it so that your friends can see them. If you have any questions and concerns, please drop them in the comment section. Thank you. See you when I see you.